Reading Śrīla Prabhupāda-līlāmṛta Volume 2, Chapter 55, The Final Lesson. Despite his promise to live, Śrīla Prabhupada said his life was still in Krishna's hands. Everything was. His free choice did not mean that he was absolutely independent. Rather, the pure devotee's attitude is to freely surrender to Krishna, whatever happens. In the mood of gopis, the foremost devotees of Krishna, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prayed, "You may handle me roughly in your embrace or make me broken-hearted by not being present before me, but you are always my worshipful Lord unconditionally." Because the exchanges between the Lord and his pure devotees are always supremely personal, both the Lord and his devotees express desires and individual will. In his childhood Leela, Krishna sometimes breaks Mother Yashoda's butter pot, and sometimes he allows her to catch him and bind him. In any case, the will of the Lord and the will of the devotees are always one in interest, but they are sometimes expressed in the form of a loving conflict. Similarly, although Srila Prabhupada had promised his devotees that he would stay in the world and defy death, he still remained surrendered to the will of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada has already expressed his surrender in the prayer he has given his disciples to offer on his behalf. My dear Lord Krishna, if you desire, please cure Srila Prabhupada. By the phrase, if you desire, he was reminding his followers of the supreme prerogative of Krishna and was asking them to abide by it, although he was also giving them an acceptable way to petition Krishna. In a similar case in 1967, he had given his disciples another prayer. My master has not finished his work. He had said he had said then that Krishna had responded to this prayer, granting the wishes of the devotees. Srila Prabhupada himself was responding to the devotees' prayers, and Krishna had given him the choice. But as a surrendered soul, Srila Prabhupada waited for further developments, ever sensitive to Krishna's desire. As Prabhupada had said when invited by Kirtanananda to come to his palace in New Vrindavan, let us see which palace I am going to. As a loving tension can sometimes exist between the Supreme Lord and his pure devotee, so now a similar tension existed between Srila Prabhupada and his followers. Prior to his disciples' desperate petition at his bedside, Srila Prabhupada had said, had seen Srila Prabhupada had seen his duty as instructing his disciples in how to die. Part of his mission was to set the perfect example in this most important lesson, how to pass life's ultimate test. But now his disciples were asking him to postpone the lesson in dying and stay with them indefinitely in the preaching field. And Prabhupada had agreed, showing that he had the ability to live if he chose. But sooner or later, he would have to return to the lesson on how a person should face the end of life. Are you able to see and follow me?
Yes, Roshi.
Okay. One special feature of Srila Prabhupada's activity is his relating intimately to the human condition while at the same time remaining aloof and transcendental. As a pure devotee, he was not subjected to the law of karma, which awards reactions for pious and sinful deeds. He was not born by the force of karma, nor would he die by force of karma. As stated by Srila Rupa Goswami, one whose body, mind, and words are fully engaged in devotion service to Krishna is a liberated soul, even while living in this world. People often misunderstand the movements of a pure devotee within the material world, just as one, on seeing clouds blowing past the moon, may think the moon itself is moving. The Shastra therefore warns us never to see the Guru as an ordinary man subject to karma. But Srila Prabhupada, while always transcendental to this world, showed the conditioned soul how they too could come to the stage of liberation by constantly thinking about Krishna and serving him, so that at the time of death they could return to Krishna in the eternal spiritual world. And Prabhupada's lessons were always practical and universal. Srila Prabhupada's books, for example, were not mere theory but were practical and full of realized knowledge. And Prabhupada practiced what he preached. His entire life was exemplary. He had been in family life, and even then he had vigorously preached by starting his Back to Godhead magazine. In poverty and obscurity, he had struggled to start a spiritual movement, and by the grace of Krishna and his spiritual master, he had become successful. He had always shown by his humble human life attempts his willingness to bravely take on austerity and face danger. He had shown exemplary spiritual life for all to try and follow. He had gone alone in old age to a foreign country and chanted Hare Krishna at a park in New York City, attracting the young men and women of America. Therefore, everyone should take his example and try to serve Krishna despite the immediate impediments. Srila Prabhupada encountered obstacles, yet by his free will and the help of Krishna, he surmounted them. This was his wonderful example. It is said that Lord Chaitanya 500 years ago made surrender to Krishna more attainable than Lord Krishna had 5,000 years ago. And now in the 20th century, Srila Prabhupada has made Krishna consciousness possible for people all over the world. As part of his instruction and example, Srila Prabhupada knew he would have to show people just how to die. He had escaped death a number of times by Krishna's grace, by the prayers of his disciples, and by his own pure and powerful will to propagate his movement. But from the signs given to him by Lord Krishna in 1977, Srila Prabhupada began decisively and conclusively ending his mission in the material world. And among his final duties was his giving complete guidelines on how to die. He was perfectly showing how to do that which everyone has to do, but which is most difficult to do successfully, die. But a loving conflict was there. Prabhupada loved his disciples. He also knew that they were not yet fully mature. His movement already had great potency and stature in the world, and yet it had many enemies. He was inclined to always protect his devotees, his movement, and all living entities, even the animals. So when his most intimate and faithful disciples pleaded that they could not go on without him, he had turned from showing how to die, agreeing to stay with them and preach. But at what point would they ever be willing to let him go? At what point could he say that the world of Maya and the enemies of Krishna were all gone? At what point would his disciples become fully mature? In following his decision to stay, Srila Prabhupada turned himself over to his disciples, allowing them to care for him completely. Those who took part recalled that never before had Srila Prabhupada allowed such intimate dealings between himself and his disciples. The only thing comparable was in the New York in 1966 when he had been very intimate in dealing with first persons to join him, persons who n- had known nothing of the etiquette of approaching a spiritual master. But those who were present now and who had also been present then said that these days were even more intimate. At one point, Kirtananda firmly insisted that Srila Prabhupada drink a full cup of juice even when he said he had had enough. Kirtananda felt awkward, insisting, I am not like Mother Yashoda that I can do this. He said, I keep remembering that you are my spiritual master. But Srila Prabhupada allowed himself to be ordered by Kirtanananda. Similarly, Bhavananda, Tamala Krishna, Bhakticharu, Upendra, and other servants coaxed Srila Prabhupada to follow certain diets and cared for his body constantly. The other devotees were reminded of the story of Ishwarapuri, who gave intimate bodily service to his spiritual master Madhavendra Puri when Madhavendra Puri was in the last stages of his life and apparently invalid. According to Chetan Charitamrita, it was by this menial bodily service that Ishwarapuri proved his love for his spiritual master and was allowed to become the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya. Sri Prabhupada has deferred the lessons in dying in favor of giving his disciples an unparalleled opportunity to serve him in pure and simple love. And he allowed this not only for a few, but for whoever came to Vrindavan. Many came and all were allowed to enter Srila Prabhupada's room, massage his body, and sit with him as long as they liked, day and night, chanting the holy name for his pleasure. Srila Prabhupada also recommenced his translating, and this was done openly. Whereas previously he had always worked in solitude, he now encouraged all devotees to come as he lay in the bed, dictating his Bhaktivedanta purports. He was giving himself completely and declaring it also, telling the devotees present, never leave me, and I cannot live without your company. They had asked him to stay, and he had agreed, consigning himself completely to their care. Those who were blessed to have this service felt themselves passing over all barriers of reluctance to serve, as well as all barriers of material desire, by intimately. So intimately serving Srila Prabhupada, they felt the strength of complete surrender and sensed that this would sustain them always, even when Srila Prabhupada eventually did depart from the world. Prabhupada also continued speaking as he had in recent months about being unafraid of death and being fixed in transcendental knowledge. When receiving a presentation of some of his books recently printed in Portuguese by Hridayananda Goswami, Prabhupada encouraged him and said, "This is life. The material world is just bones. The bones are not our real life. Our real concern is the living force. The bones may remain or go. It doesn't matter. The real life is sustaining the bones. There is even a history that there was a rishi who had only bones. So, there is a science by which you can attain life by only bones. Hridayananda did it. Hiranyakashipu did it. You are also doing it, Srila Prabhupada, Tamal Krishna said. So take care of the bones as long as possible, said Prabhupada. But the real life is here. Always remember that. The main material body means we are simply all protecting bones and flesh together, but they have no knowledge of what they are. And when Atreya Rishi visited Srila Prabhupada and asked that he visit Tehran, Prabhupada said that he was ready to go, but now you have to take a bundle of bones. These were, of course, the same themes that Prabhupada had always taught, the same themes that were in his books, but the lessons were more poignant and striking when Prabhupada applied them to his own situation. More than one devotee compared Prabhupada to Bhishma Dev, who gave important instructions in his last days. As Bhishma felt no pain and delivered learned and loving discourses even from his bed of arrows, and as Bhishma determined by his own will the time of his departure from the world, so Srila Prabhupada spent his last days oblivious to his physical condition, defying the death and instructing his spiritually innocent sons. But Prabhupada's son could no longer stand by and simply hear the philosophical lessons. Prabhupada had accepted their affection when they had cried for him to stay with them, and now they wanted to express that affection in the only world they understood, a world with Srila Prabhupada living and talking with them, laughing or reprimanding them as he liked. They wanted him to eat and drink and become physically strong again. But again, Srila Prabhupada seemed to change and he began refusing food and drink. He had postponed his passing away to exchange lovingly with his disciples, and yet at the same time, by refusing to eat or drink, he was showing his preference for passing away. He admitted, when pressed, that it was an impossible course of action to live without food or drink, nor did he expect or want miracles. If he was to get better, it would be by taking nourishment. But for reasons of his own, he would not eat. He said recovery was material and he didn't want it. He kept closely in tune with the will of Krishna, allowing the holy name to sustain him. The doctors who came were often puzzled, but those who were Vaishnavas understood and respected his prerogative. Prabhupada's servant made anxiety-filled attempts to induce Prabhupada to take regular treatment, but Prabhupada refused. Prabhupada preferred to only take kirtan and Bhagavatam while at the same time sustaining a willingness to live. He empathized with his disciples' anxiety and patiently explained the puzzled situation they were in. He wanted their care and he allowed them to try and treat him, knowing that it was bringing them more and more into a surrender of love. But gradually it became more clear that Krishna's will was indicating Prabhupada's departure. Srila Prabhupada, Bhavananda coaxed, always working on the assumption that Prabhupada could stay if he wanted. Your presence on this planet is the only thing that's keeping the onslaught of Kali Yuga from really taking effect. We have no idea even what will happen if you leave. It is not in my hands, said the Prabhupada with perfect clarity of consciousness. Krishna Balaram. Srila Prabhupada always spoke clearly, logically, and with complete devotion to Krishna. Up until the last, he dealt with practical matter, forming a Bhaktivedanta Swami Trust charity trust for reconstructing ancient temples in Bengal and arranging final details regarding ISKCON properties and monies. Through all dealings, he stayed always alert and he absorbed himself in Kirtana and Bhagavatam. But it became obvious to his disciples that despite his promise, he was again moving inevitably towards giving the final lesson. He was teaching that was beyond death, that a disciple's love could call the spiritual master back to the world to stay, and that a pure devotee has the ability to stay in the world beyond his allotted time. Meanwhile, however, he was progressing steadily to the final point. The devotees didn't feel angry with him or cheated that he was doing so. He had told them that he had free will given by Krishna, and they also, by their free will, had asked him to stay, and he had agreed. But they knew he was not obliged. If, despite their prayers, Lord Krishna was telling Srila Prabhupada that he should come back home to Godhead, what could they do but accept? If Srila Prabhupada was accepting them, they would accept also. Nothing, however, could change the fact of their surrendered love. It had now become a solid pact that could not be vanquished by any material changes. They had passed the test of eternal loving service, and that could not be taken away by death. Up until the end, there were interludes of sweetness as well as displays of Prabhupada's indomitable mood of fighting for Krishna. One day, Prabhupada's sister Pishima arrived unexpectedly, and Prabhupada asked her to cook khichdi. At that time, Kirtananda was trying to put Prabhupada on the road to recovery by gradually increasing his liquids, and Kirtananda and other devotees opposed the idea of his suddenly eating solid foods. But Srila Prabhupada insisted. It doesn't matter whether what she cooks does good to me or bad, said Srila Prabhupada. She is a Vaishnavi, it will be good for me. He then began speaking in an extremely humble way. Probably I became a little puffed up because of my opulence and success, he said. Now God has shattered that pride. If you don't have your body, what is there to be puffed up about? Bhakticharu Swami protested. Srila Prabhupada, whatever you have done for Krishna. That may be, but in this world, unknowingly, you commit offenses. When Peshima heard this, she exclaimed, no, no, he never committed any offense. You cannot even commit offenses, said Bhakticharu. You are God's very dear one. How can you commit offenses? I am a little temperamental, said Srila Prabhupada. I used to use words like rascal and so on. I never compromised. They used to call it a club in one hand and a Bhagavatam in the other. That is not how I preach. Anyway, make arrangements for my sister. There were also visits from Srila Prabhupada's god brothers, and again Prabhupada asked forgiveness for his offenses. One time, Nishkinchana Krishnadas Babaji, Puri Maharaj, Ashram Maharaj, Anand Prabhu, Purushottam Brahmachari, and about 20 others came and sat next to Prabhupada's bed. He was resting when they arrived, and they joined the kirtan until he awoke. When he saw them, he asked to be raised up. Sitting in the center of his bed with his god brothers all around, he addressed them. All over the world, there is a beautiful field to preach Krishna consciousness, he said. I didn't care whether I would be successful or not. People are willing to take. They are all taking also. If we preach together, the saying of Mahaprabhu, Prithivithe, will come true. We have everything. Spread the holy name and distribute prasadam. There is a beautiful field in Africa, in Russia, everywhere they are accepting. When Prabhupada began asking his god brothers to forgive him, they protested, you are the eternal leader. One of them asserted, you rule over us, guide us, and chastise us. Forgive all my offenses, Prabhupada repeated. I became proud of all my opulence. No, said Puri Maharaj, you never became proud. When you started preaching, opulence and success followed you. That was the blessing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Krishna. There cannot be any question of your being offensive. When Srila Prabhupada presented himself as a Mahapatita, greatly fallen, Puri Maharaj did not accept. You have saved millions of people around the world, he said. Therefore, there is no question of offenses. But you should be called Mahapatita Pavana, the great savior of the fallen. Prabhupada's disciples regarded Prabhupada's asking for his godbrother's forgiveness as a manifestation of his humility. But they were also puzzled. Certainly, Prabhupada's godbrothers were sincere in saying Prabhupada had committed no offense. Whatever he had done for Krishna. But Srila Prabhupada was also sincere in asking for forgiveness. That was the beautiful gem of his humility to ask everyone for forgiveness. For the purpose of preaching, displaying his gem had not always been the most effective way to spread the merciful teachings of Lord Krishna in every town and village, but now it could be displayed in London and now in Vrindavan. Prabhupada was showing his disciples extra affection and gratitude without the reprimands usually necessary in training disciples. This attitude of complete humility was a symptom of the highest stage of devotional life. Srila Prabhupada had explained in his books that the Madhyama Adhikari, the second class devotee, makes distinctions between the devotees, the innocent non-devotees, and the demons, whereas the Mahabhagavat or first class devotees sees everyone except himself as a servant of God. Sometimes, however, the Mahabhagavat desires to come down from the first class platform to the second class platform just to take up the most compassionate service of preaching Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada's disciple had all read of Mahabhagavat stage in the scriptures, and now they were seeing it fully displayed as Prabhupada referred to himself as the most fallen and asked for everyone's forgiveness. Srila Prabhupada had heard of the program of his disciple Lokanath Swami, who was taking a small group of men on a bullock cart and preaching in villages throughout India. Lokanath had told Srila Prabhupada how, in the course of their travel, they had recently visited tirthas such as Badrik Ashram and Bhim Kapur. Srila Prabhupada was enlivened to hear this, and he then evolved a transcendental desire to go himself on a cart pulled by bullocks to circumambulate the area of Vrindavan. Tamal Krishna and Bhavananda, who were serving Srila Prabhupada with increased intimacy, felt themselves unable to support Srila Prabhupada in his desire, since they thought his fragile body could not survive such rough treatment on the roads. But Srila Prabhupada reasoned that dying on parikrama is glorious, and he asked them to take him. A controversy developed among the devotees, as some said Prabhupada's will to go on parikram should be immediately honored as an order from the spiritual master. He wanted it, and he shouldn't be denied. The doctor, however, assured them that Srila Prabhupada's body would not survive the joltings of the cart. The many devotees who crowded um where am I? The many devotees who crowded around Srila Prabhupada's bed held different opinions, and Prabhupada could see this. Following his request, however, Lokanath went out and hired a cart with bullocks and prepared it for the ride. Lokanath and Hamsaduta suggested that the parikram could go to the city of Vrindavan or visit the seven main temples of Goswami. But then they said that since the next day was Govardhan Puja, Prabhupada could go to Govardhan Hill. Tamal Krishna, Bhavananda, and Bhakticharu, however, protested adamantly against the parikram. One day experiment, Prabhupada said. It is for one day. Rest assured, I will not die in one day. He liked the idea of going to Govardhan, and we shall make our cooking there, he said. Lokanath Swami, he assured them, was experienced, make very good picnic, he said. Let's stop here. Um, Yeah, I'm getting calls, and yeah, for tomorrow we can prepare. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Jai Krishna. Okay.